morning. This is Mary Ellen McGonagle, and you're watching the MEM Edge show. And this is the show where we put you in front of where the action is in the broader markets. So let's go ahead and get started. Take a look at what we will be reviewing here today. First, and per usual, I'm going to take a look at the current market conditions, and we need to make sure before you put your hard-earned money to work in the markets, you want to make sure that you have a healthy backdrop by way of a market that's in a confirmed uptrend. And if not, of course, take a look at some more defensive areas, but we'll get into that as we move along. And how to play the bullish move into small cap stocks. Last week, we did have a bullish downtrend reversal in the small cap index. We will review that as well as how you can capitalize on this continued move into smaller stocks. From there, we're going to take a look at how global market strength. We've seen a lot of that certainly over the last 2 weeks, and using ETFs, how you can spot where the strength is globally. And then from there, drill down to individual stocks that can, again, take advantage of that strength. And then lastly, relevant stocks that are going to report earnings this week. This week is the beginning, marks the very beginning of earnings season for first quarter earnings. And it's going to be a very, very interesting period. All eyes on these companies that are reporting. So I picked about 4 stocks that are due to report, and each one of them are going to have their own relevancy as far as how they come out with their numbers, and of course, as usual, how the markets respond to those numbers. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and take a look at the broader markets. We talked about the need to have a feel for where we are currently. Are we in a healthy position? Are the markets poised to trade higher or not? So this is a daily view of the S&P 500. And what I've done is gone ahead and overlaid these simple moving averages on top of the price. So each one of these bars is 1 day of trading activity. And this this green line is your 10-day simple moving average. The red is your 50-day, and the blue, your 200-day simple moving average. The relevance here is you want the current price to be trading above these simple moving averages, and you also want these lines to be in an uptrend. So quite simply, they are smoothed out versions of the recent price history. So your 10-day is taking the last 10 days of trading activity and smoothing out that price. So we can see quite clearly these key moving averages are in an uptrend. The price of the S&P index is above. So we're in good standing there, most certainly. And what we can do from there is take a look at a couple of other indicators. Up here, I have what's called an RSI. That's a relative strength indicator. You want this line to be above this dashed net neutral. So this dashed line that lands over here at the 50, that is viewed as your neutral zone, if you will. So you want this RSI line to be above that to indicate positive strength, certainly from a momentum standpoint. This is a momentum indicator. And then ideally to have it poised to leaning or heading north, if you will. So we can see we have a positive RSI here on this daily display. Down at the bottom, another momentum indicator. This is called stochastics. We also want to pay attention to the position of the stochastics relative to its neutral 50 line, and then also the slope. So we are above that 50, positive territory, and heading upward. So we are certainly in good standing by all metrics here as far as the current uptrend in the broader markets. Now, the other action that we want to pay attention to here is the current price relative to recent highs. And I'm taking you back here to October, this high in price here. We've been able to bump up ahead of the December and November highs. The next hurdle, if you will, is this October high. So we're going to be paying very close attention to see the action or how the S&P 500 index, how it, as it approaches that prior October high. Is it able to break above that? It very well may act as resistance. So of course, again, we will keep an eye on that. But currently, your near-term uptrend is very much in place. So let's go ahead and drill down a little bit further from this broader market view. We're going to take a look at a candle glance view. So you can see up here, I've populated it with various indices. We have the NASDAQ, Dow, the Russell 2000, and the S&P, as well as various S&P sector funds. So XLB is the basic materials, our XLRE is your real estate, and so on. But we'll get into it as we drill down, because from there, I went ahead and added an RSI indicators. From this drop-down menu, you certainly have a number of choices. I go with the RSI. I want to see where the momentum is. Again, that's your relative strength indicator. And then sorted it by descending. So you're getting strength up here in the upper left, down to weakness. So let's take a quick look here and drill down into the broader markets. We can see XLY. This is consumer discretionary, shooting right up here to the forefront. Super strong. This index has had about a 2-week period here. You can see this rally. We're looking at a thumbnail daily chart, and you can see that it's had a significant move here more recently. And the next index here is the NASDAQ. This is all about technology stocks. Certainly, semiconductors came in quite strong last week, and a number of other areas within technology that are doing quite well. Basic materials, I talked about that. This was the top performer last week, had a huge move, and it has very much moved up here to the forefront. Then we have the S&P and technology. But what we can see here is these cyclical stocks are starting to forge their way to the front of the market. They're showing superior strength, certainly relative to the broader markets. And then from there, energy, this is all about commodity prices picking up. Again, move into these cyclical areas. But take a look here at the Russell 2000. We're going to look at a different chart as well so that you can see that downtrend reversal a bit more clearly. It's giving it up back a little bit today, but certainly still in positive territory. And then as we drill down, we can see industrials picking up quite nicely. Financials trying to turn. They're doing okay, but I popped the utilities in here just by way of mentioning that defensive areas within the broader markets do appear to be pausing. There's been a definite shift and a sector rotation, but let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to draw us back up to here, and we are going to go ahead and begin by taking a broader view, a bigger picture of the Russell 2000 index. I want to make sure that I have that display here properly, and it's RUT. Okay, so here we are. This is a broader view. We're now looking at a bigger picture daily chart of the Russell 2000. What I did want to point out to you here is last week's action. I have those same simple moving average overlays on top of the chart, and we can see that the Russell 2000 not as healthy as the S&P 500 or, as a matter of fact, the other broader indices. But more to the point here is last Friday's break up above this 200-day simple moving average. We can see the RSI is trending upward in a positive fashion. And then your MACD, what you want to look for here, this is your moving average convergence, divergence. You want to key in on the crossovers, the black line either up or down through the red, as well as the actual position of this MACD. So we've had that black line crossing up through the red, positive action here, and we are just up that net neutral, but we are heading north. So we're getting positive technical signals on the Russell, but most important from my work is this break above that 200-day simple moving average, which you can see back here in the end of February, March. It was acting as resistance. Now, ideally, I would like to see a more decisive break above that 200, but we're certainly in good standing as far as potentially reversing this downtrend. And so from here, you might wonder, well, how can you get in front of these stocks? in this small cap space that is beginning to show signs of life. And actually, before doing that, wanted to point out to you, if I can get my cursor back in action here, but I did want to point out to you, over the last several weeks, we can see that the index already has been quite strong. And let's see, because ideally what I want to do is go ahead and show you how we can get into the individual stocks. So I'm going to take you to the initial interface page here. What we're going to do is go ahead over to these member tools here, and I want to go down to an area that is called Scooter Reports. And for those of you not familiar, SCTR is the stock charts technical rating. And this is an incredible rating system that is going to point you towards stocks that are technically sound. It's going to be higher the number, the better. It does go up to 99. And then from up here, what we can do is go ahead and access the Scooter report for small cap stocks. Now, what this is going to do is automatically sort it for you so that you are getting these higher ranked stocks up here in the forefront. A couple of things we can do from here. If you go ahead and hover over that ticker symbol, it will provide you with that wonderful thumbnail view. And the reason I'm going to go ahead, I mentioned to you that small caps have been rallying here for a couple of weeks. So initially, when you go into this Scooter report, these higher rated stocks, a lot of them are going to be a bit extended. You can see that this first stock biotech name is up and out. We want to get into names certainly a little bit earlier. BCYT is here sitting hitting a new high in price. But very quickly, what you can do is go ahead and glance down at these different stocks, because again, ideally we want to get stocks that are not actually at an all-time high. Let's take a look at this stock. This is IIPR. And what I find attractive about this stock, this is Innovative Industrial Properties. It's an it's a REIT stock, a real estate investment trust stocks that specializes in buildings that are designed to support cannabis, medical cannabis companies. And you can see that it has been on a real run here, certainly for a good part of this year. More recently, the stock has pulled back. I have those same simple moving averages. We're looking at a daily price chart. The stock pulled back to this upward trending 50-day simple moving average, and it is seemingly finding buyers at that area. So the stock is reversing this near-term downtrend. The RSI is positive. MACD is not quite supporting a positive crossover, but it is above that net neutral zero. So this could be a potential candidate. This particular stock does yield about 2.2% as well. Now, let's see if we can go ahead back and access this list, because I do want to show you other ways. So we talked about the ability to, these are all super strong stocks, UBNT hitting new highs. For those of you that are not afraid of buying new stocks at new highs, you have a very large list. But let's take a look at another one doing that thumbnail. This is Tandem Diabetics, TNDM. This stock was the biggest winning stock last year, had explosive moves. They do provide products for diabetics. And what we are looking at here is another stock that did hit a new high back here in March, pulled back, found support at that 50-day. So ideally, we're not quite ready for prime time. This stock needs to break back up above that 10-day. You can see how it's acting as resistance. So a break back above that on volume combined with an RSI that's positive, and then we want to see that MACD, that positive crossover similar to this period back here. The other way that you can identify potential candidates using this scooter, because again, up here in the forefront, a lot of these stocks have already gone out of the gate, so to speak. I'm just going to go ahead and forge ahead to the third page, because what I want to do is have the ability to access these scooter rated small cap stocks that are just hovering around the 90. This could be a very, very good area that you could potentially shop from, if you will. So here we can go ahead and hover over some of these, and you'll see a number of these stocks that very well could be compelling, certainly technically. And then, of course, from there, you will want to go ahead and do your diligence as far as drilling down a little bit further. Let's take a look at IRBT down here. It's rated 89.1, and you can see why. The stock, this is iRobot. The stock gapped up here, had a very big run following strong earnings, but then more recently is just pulling back again to this upward trending 50-day simple moving average. The stock's not particularly overly compelling at this point because it does appear to just be marking time while the rest of the markets are doing quite well, but we can see this MACD is just poised to potentially have that positive crossover, the black line up through the red. The RSI is certainly positive. So what we would need here is some sort of news, but perhaps an analyst upgrade. They did announce a new product back in here, but something of that nature to propel this stock higher. And I'm going to take you back. We'll just take a quick peek at a couple of other names here. Travel Zoo. Again, we can see this scooter rating around 89. So I'm on the prowl for stocks that are not terribly extended and could potentially have life. So this is, for those of you not familiar, Travel Zoo does provide leisure activities, restaurants, travel, and so forth, discounts to those that are members. And we can see the stock had a very explosive move into the end of February, but more recently has fallen out of favor. Very similar to iRobot, where it's marking time, just potentially turning positive as it, after pulling back to its 200-day simple moving average, RSI trending upward, and then also this down here at the bottom, we have the MACD. But again, right now, a bit of a lackluster period. So we would, again, here as well, need some sort of news to propel it, to bring it back to life, for lack of a better word. So when you're going through here, one last tip, you do want to take a peek at that at the candle glance view that we showed in the beginning. With that, you now have a sense of where the strength is in the broader markets. And then as you view this list, go ahead and key in on those stocks that are in those areas that have picked up. And I mentioned consumer, discretionary, retail, certainly home improvement retailers have really been on a tear. Home Depot and Lowe's. Let's take a quick peek at Haverty, which is a furniture company. And we can see that this stock is very well positioned to continue its upward move here. This is another stock that hit a new high back here at the end of February, pulled back to this upward trending 50-day simple moving average, and more recently is now reversing this downtrend. Your RSI, very positive. Take a look at this MACD, had that black line up through the red in positive territory. This stock is poised to break out of a nice 6-week base. And upon breaking out, we would expect the stock to advance even further from there. So hopefully giving you some clues as far as how you can, once you identify a particular area of the market, whether it's small cap, large cap, or so forth, what you can then do from there is go ahead and access potential candidates using that scooter, and then also being clued into where the strength is in the broader markets by way of industry groupings to help you drill down a bit better. Now, I'm going to take us back to this scooter report because I did want to take a moment. I mentioned to you that over the last certainly week, we did see a nice pickup in global stocks and movement there. And the easiest way for you to spot precisely where, as well as what's going on in the broader markets, is go ahead and look at the scooter report for ETFs. There are over 2,000 ETFs. They encompass every area of the markets. And again, we're keying in on this scooter because the 99 indicates it's technically sound. Oftentimes that indicates it's hitting a new high. It's a lot of relative strength there. So quite quickly we can view this and notice how we see a lot by way of China. So Chinese markets have really come to life over the last couple of weeks. So we can drill down, take a look at that. And again, really just this whole front page has a number of Chinese related ETFs, whether it's new products, large cap, and so forth. But drilling down and looking in a little bit beyond that, you will see some outliers, and we can see the semiconductor ETF up here in the forefront. Semiconductor sector hit a new high in price. So right here, you can see very clear-cut strength within semiconductors down here as well. So pretty much China and semiconductors are really showing the most in the way of strength. So what I wanted to do from here is go ahead and point out a couple of China-related China ETFs. These are companies that are based in China, but they are listed on the US markets. So I've gone ahead and run a screen, and I will tell you those there are 125 Chinese ETFs on the US exchanges, and those that look the most compelling are certainly currently in the consumer space. This is ATV, Acorn. We're looking Acorn International at a daily price chart. We're not getting a whole lot in the way of volume, but certainly enough. This is a stock that pulled back to that 50-day simple moving average and is now potentially forming the right side of a base. This is a direct retailer, and we can see the RSI is trending upward above that net neutral. And then down here below, your MACD is just poised. It's having that crossover, the black line up through the red, and it is poised to turn positive. So this is certainly a constructive name within the Chinese broader markets. Here's another retailer, LITE, and this particular stock is a retail internet company. And we can see that this particular stock, I want to make sure that I am showing you the correct stock. This is not the correct stock, but we can certainly go ahead back. I'll go ahead and see if I can uncover the proper ticker symbols. It's LITB, so forgive me on that one. LITB is the proper, and this is much better. Lightning in the box. This is another retailer. It's an internet retailer. You can see that it's really been on the move here. The RSI is very positive. Once it gets up above this 70, it's what's called overbought. So you can see that it can remain in an overbought position for a pretty lengthy period of time. This is for almost the entire month of March, but it is with an eye for an eventual pullback. But certainly there is strength here. It's finding support at an upward trending 10-day simple moving average. We have time for just a couple more because I do want to go ahead and review those companies that are reporting earnings this week. This is the GDS. It is GDS Holdings, a network solutions stock, and for the internet, and we can see that this particular stock is a little bit extended here above this 10-day simple moving average. But what I like to see here is as this 50-day crosses up through the 200, that is a golden cross, a bullish sign. Your MACD, your MACD is up here above this net neutral 0, and your RSI is trending upward. One other stock that we can take a quick look at is HTHT. This particular company is a leisure hotel lodging company. And what I like about this stock is that it is finding support at this upward trending 10-day simple moving average, your RSI and your MACD in positive standing, in a positive. But what I'm going to do from here, this is a daily price chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at a bigger view at a weekly price chart, and we can see that this particular stock did hit a new high during the June-July period of last year. And as it sold off with the broader Chinese markets, more recently it's forming the right side of this base. If we can get this stock up here around this 49 level and break out to a new high, the stock would then be considered breaking out of a base, and it should advance even further. So that's a review of some of these interesting. One last one I wanted to point out to you that you can certainly be on the prowl here. Oh, it's hard to see. I'll see if I can pull up it daily. This is another one. You can see those stocks that are doing quite well in the Chinese markets are leisure and retail related. This is a company, NIU. It's now up 20% today, but they provide e-scooters. So electric scooters, very big market there. So moving on, we do have a number of companies that are reporting earnings this week. The first one I'm going to pull up for you is Delta Airlines. DAL is the ticker. The stock is quite extended here. Take a look at this. It had a very big move. They are due to report on Wednesday. And that big move last week, let's see if I can put a number to that. The stock was actually up almost 12%. This is all about analysts raising guidance going into earnings. So the significance here is the stock currently is extended. This RSI is up above that 70. I talked about that being an overbought indicator, and just eyeing the price, how far away it is from this 10-day simple moving average. Quite simply, you can see that the stock is clearly extended. The reason I'm pointing this out is as Delta Airlines does come out with their earnings Wednesday, we are going to be very interested in seeing how the stock not only reports, but how the markets respond, given that the stock already had a 12% move going into the report. Another company that is due to report on Wednesday is a retailer. This is Bed Bath and Beyond. Take a look at that gap up there. And this particular stock, you can see, is now subsequent to that, now trading above each of these simple moving averages. But it is another stock that is trading, it did advance going into earnings. It's trickling up just a little bit today. So another one to keep an eye out for, although this chart has a lot in the way of gaps up and down, a little too sloppy from my work, but certainly it will be interesting to see how the company because the estimates are very negative for this year as well as next. On Thursday, we have a bellwether bank stock. This is Wells Fargo. They are due to report on Thursday, and we can see the stock is really struggling. It's not performing in line with certainly some of the, we can look at Bank of America and some of the other bigger banks that are coming back to life. Wells Fargo, of course, has had a number of legal issues, so they're languishing, but it may very well set the tone for financial stocks depending on how they report. One last one, because we are certainly starting to run out of time here, but this is a stock, Skyline, SKY. The reason I wanted to point this particular company out is because they do traffic, or they do provide mobile home construction, and also as far as homes. So this is an area of the market that very well may RVs and so forth. It is trying to form the right side of the space, but with the low interest rate environment, we also have a number of baby boomers retiring, and they are moving to these RVs. So it has a big marketplace, but we can see that the stock is potentially formed to break out of the space at 22, but you will want to see how it behaves up here at this downward trending 200-day simple moving average. Very well may be resistance, but we can keep an eye on this. RSI is positive, and MACD poised to have this positive crossover. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. And for those of you trading this week, happy trading.